To Estoril, as the track has just gone green for qualifying for the second race of the weekend for the International GTOpen, which will indeed set the grid for the second race of the season. You join us at a very wet Estoril circuit. There have been very heavy showers sweeping throughout the course of the morning. The weather has taken a notable turn for the worse in about the last 10 to 15 minutes, which means that it is a very damp track which confronts the drivers as they head out to form the grid for this afternoon's race. Well, yesterday, the opening race of the season was thoroughly entertaining throughout. It was claimed in the end by the Luzic Racing Ferrari, Alessandro Guidi and Michael Mack, and they took the victory from Jerome Mull and Giovanni Venturini, with the podium completed after a thrilling drive through the field from the RS Racing Ferrari of Daniele Diamato and Andrea Montermini. Pro-Am honours went to Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole, with Luis Silva and Antonio Coimbra claiming AM class victory. It was a topsy-turvy race, a few spins and incidents along the way, and therefore there'll be a lot of drivers looking to set the record straight today, including the man that we are following. That is Miguel Ramos at the wheel of the Dico Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan. Ramos, the 2015 champion in the International GTOpen, teaming up with 2016 champion Fabrizio Crestani. They are surely going to be one of the strongest combinations in the Pro-Am class, in which they'll be competing. One of two Dico Lazarus Lamborghini Huracans, the other entrusted to Toby Sloss and Giuseppe Cipriani. And Ramos just heading around the parabolic now. This driver's getting a sense of where the grip is around the circuit, also slowly getting some heat into the Michelin tyre that they will run with. Headlights ablaze, trying to pick their way through. There is Juan Cruz Alvarez, the wheel of one of the three Teo Marti Motorsport BMWs that we have got in the field. This is the car that the Argentine shares with Lorenzo Beirao de Viega, and they were well up inside the top 10 for much of yesterday's race. And the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW showing fine qualifying and race pace yesterday. Quite how the BMW is going to relish these wet conditions, we will find out. As the former GP2 driver, former World Series Light champion, just scrubs the speed off, heading steeply into this uphill chicane. He is being pursued by Giulio Bolenghi, and then the 71 car, which is the second of the Luzic Racing Ferraris. That's Alex West. He and Michele Rugolo finished third in the Pro-Am class yesterday, although that was aided a little bit by the fact that West got bumped into a spin after contact with the Ombra Racing Lamborghini Huracan. That allowed Miguel Ramos to pick his way through. Sense of the track conditions and visibility really declining. You can't see from one end of the start and finish straight to the other. Here is Alessandro Guidi, though, the World Endurance Championship LMGTE Pro champion from last year, former champion in the International GTOpen as well. And the driver who will be enjoying the conditions is former British GT champion Bradley Ellis at the wheel of the Optima Motorsport Audi, which he shares with Ollie Wilkinson. Ellis and Wilkinson, they had their progress delayed a little bit yesterday after Wilkinson was one of several cars that got delayed by a second turn incident. Ellis will be hoping to challenge, certainly for a top 10 starting position, if not something a little bit more than that. As he accelerates uphill into turn 11 and then the left-hander at turn 12. The puddles just beginning to form there on the way into turn 12. The curbs looking extremely treacherous on the exit of the corner as well, before picking his way through the parabolica. And then just into that ball of mist and spray, and somewhere at the end of it lurks turn 1. It's accelerating through now for Bradley Ellis, and that lap puts him 5th. It's currently Jerome Mull in the Pirelli Racing Lamborghini, who is quickest from his teammate Riccardo Agostini, with 3rd position. Then Toby Sloss in the Dico Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan. We've got a yellow flag over at turn 4. We'll find out who that is in a moment, because Bradley Ellis is about to arrive at the scene of the crime. As he climbs out of turn 3. And, oh, it's Miguel Ramos who's gone off in the Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan. And Ramos just posted 1 lap. And he's buried fairly deep in the gravel trap as well. He might struggle to escape from there. Meanwhile, sliding out of the Parabolica, this is Jerome Mull, who is going to set a real marker for the rest of the field to try and chase down. A 1 minute 49.5, that puts him 1.2 seconds quicker than the rest of the pack. This is teammate Ricardo Agostini, who didn't get to race yesterday after Rick Broik was involved in that first lap incident, who's currently second. Konstantin Kalko has gone third in the ARC Bratislava car, with Alessandro Pierguidi in fourth, as Kalko in fact improves to second place, the former star of the Radical European Masters Championship. It's 4/10 of a second adrift of. There is the recovery work that is ongoing for Miguel Ramos, so hopefully he'll get out of there and be able to get the car fired up and back to the pits. But nonetheless, what it means is that we're going to have a few laps, one would imagine, of nobody improving, given how much they're going to have to back off the pace with the live recovery going on. Sense there, just looking at the water. Oh, and that is exactly what you don't want to see. Damiano Fioravanti through the gravel trap also at turn 4. Fioravanti was lively yesterday in the Ombra Racing Ferrari, very much in the thick of the action. His debut in the International GTOpen Championship, a driver who is well known to the paddock. Now here is another look at it. Oh, and that is almost certainly going to lead to an invitation to race control for the Italian. But Ramos has been dragged clear. He spins it around, so the car's all fired up. He might just peel into the pits to get it checked over, but at least for the Portuguese driver, it's the opportunity to set a representative lap time, and he'll be hoping that the Lamborghini Huracan hasn't ingested too many stones. Now, a driver I think to really watch for in this session is going to be Toby Sloss and his sister Lazarus Lamborghini, because Sloss, he obviously backed off with the wave of yellow flags, but he was very, very rapid through sector 1 on that last lap. He's accelerating through now. This is Ricardo Agostini. Somewhere in the mist, there he is, and Agostini currently 5th in the session as we're approaching the 1/3 point, but the track is now completely green, so we'll start to see improvements as and when they occur. Agostini using all the curb coming out of turn 2 through turn 3, really pushing these big GT3 cars. They're able to clear a fair amount of water, which is just as well, really, because there is a lot of it now on the surface of the circuit. There is Toby Sloss just ahead of him. So these are two very quick Lamborghinis, and Fioravanti has gone through the gravel trap again up at turn 4. Just saw the Lamborghini recovering. Toby Sloss, who finished 4th in last year's British Formula 3 Championship, 3rd the year before that, making the move across to GT racing, and immediately with good effect. This lap not quite impressive so far, and there is Fioravanti, and he's almost going to rejoin exactly in the wheel tracks of where he did a lap ago. And Toby Sloss, a good middle sector on this lap for the British driver. He's going to be catching Ferdinand Habsburg in the Drivex Mercedes. Hopefully Habsburg's not going to delay him too much. But both drivers set for their best laps of the session, as Sloss carries a good chunk of traction out of the Parabolica, is right in the toe on the Drivex Mercedes. The pair of them sprint long, start and finish straight. Toby Sloss goes second. Briefly, Ricardo Agostini immediately pips him as they jump on the brakes to turn 1, and Habsburg, has he seen Sloss? Yes, he has. He eases clear Drivex Mercedes. It's going to possibly delay Ricardo Agostini a little bit. So the classification is currently Jerome Mull from Riccardo Agostini, then Toby Sowry. Constance Calco is in 4th. And here's the top of the AM runners. Toby Sowry, the top Pro-Am. Bradley Ellis is in 5th. Alessandro Pierguidi in 6th. Juan Cruz Alvarez in 7th. Jiantong Liang in 8th. Alan Kader, Drivex Mercedes in 9th. And Julio Borlenghi in Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. Lamborghini Huracan is completing the top 10. Cruz Alvarez currently on a good lap as well in the Toyo Martin Motorsport BMW, as is Alessandro Pierguidi, waiting for both of them to come past our commentary box. Riccardo Agostini picks his way downhill. Pierguidi improved to 1 minute 50.3 but lost time through the final sector, as indeed did Juan Cruz Alvarez, to 1 minute 52.0. So the driver improving quite as much as suggested they might through the earlier stages of the lap. Still a lot of spray, oh, and a problem there into the gravel trap for Mario Cordoni. That's at turn 4, and the Italian digs himself in as he tries to spin up the rear tyres of the Crimson Mercedes. That may bring a temporary halt to the session. It's a full course yellow instead for the recovery to be completed safely. So they have all got to back off the pace. There won't be any improvements for the moment. So we'll probably hit the halfway point of the session with Jerome Mull maintaining that pole position from his Imperiale Racing teammate Riccardo Agostini. Third place is then the Daiko Lazarus at the beginning of Toby Sowry. 4th, the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini Huracan of Constance Calco. 5th, the Optima Motorsport Audi of Bradley Ellis. 6th, the Luzic Racing Ferrari of Alessandro Pierguidi. 7th is Nicolas Costa, the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini Huracan. In 8th, it's Juan Cruz Alvarez in the Toyo Martin Motorsport BMW. 9th is Julio Borlenghi in the second Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghinis. And in 10th place, it's Jiatong Liang in the third of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans, ahead of the Drivex Mercedes Valam Kader in 11th, and the Luzic Racing Ferrari of Alex West in 12th. Now here is Daniele Diamato, of whom we have seen very little in this session, and the Italian, who finished 3rd yesterday after he and Andrea Montermini produced an incredibly entertaining performance, is currently down in 15th place. Just behind him in 16th is Valentin Pierberg, who was yesterday's Pro-Am class winner. Miguel Ramos, pleased to see, back out and circulating. And Ramos currently in 14th position, but it's a strange session, this one, with the moments that we've had at turn 4. They've only had, probably, of the 15 or so minutes of green track time, only about 8 or so minutes where the conditions have been such with yellow flags that they could really push for a lap time. So there's going to be the recovery of Mario Cordoni. Don't think that should take too long. Indeed it hasn't, because there is Cordoni back on his way. It was just a little loop spin into the gravel trap. The Toyo Martin Motorsport team at work on the car of Juan Cruz Alvarez as the track goes green once more. So the full course yellow conditions coming to a close. Away at the Luzic Racing pit, Alessandro Pierguidi at the wheel. And he needs to find 3/4 of a second to challenge pole position. The bulk of the field now is in the pit lane, the exception being the 4th place driver, Constantine Calco, who is out circulating, as is Andres Saravia, who finished 4th yesterday alongside Fran Rueda, being overhauled very late in the race. Daniele Diamato, Riccardo Agostini, concentrates on the job ahead, the wheel of his Imperiale Racing entry. Ferdinand Habsburg emerging from the pits in the Drivex Mercedes. He and Jamie Campbell-Walter, they qualified 5th for yesterday's race, but Campbell-Walter was one of several cars caught up in that first lap incident, and thereafter seemed to just be struggling a little bit for pace. Racing team at work on the car of Daniele Diamato as well. It's emerging from the pit lane is Martin Conrad, who was yesterday's AM class runner-up in the HTP Motorsport MS Racing Mercedes. And Conrad, who launched a late race chase in pursuit of Louis Silva, couldn't quite overhaul the sporting new Mercedes by the flag. And he's currently in 18th position. Jiantong Liang, driver in the pits at the moment. 14 minutes to run. A couple of drivers looking as if they may make improvements on the current lap. Miguel Ramos and Andres Sarabia being two of them. Work nearly completed on the RS Racing Ferrari. Comes down off the air jacks. Be sent on its way. Alessandro Pierguidi out of the pits. Toby Sloss pressing on, currently in third place. Just weaving about Sari. He's trying to get a little bit of warmth in stars. Now Andres Sarabia is looking as if he is going to make an improvement, having set personal best sectors through the first two sectors in the TMRT Motorsport BMW. As Pierguidi picks his way through the murk. Habsburg also picking up the pace on his outlap as Andres Sarabia goes 7th with that lap of 1 minute 51.7. Sarabia, though, that 7th position, still 2 seconds off the pace set by Jerome Mullen. We've got quite the spread of times across the field from the early stages of the session. Pierguidi looks to wind up the pace. He's also going to try and get himself a little bit of clear track so he doesn't get caught in the spray of the cars in front. Doesn't get caught in the traffic. He just needs to, and it's no easy task with 22 cars circulating, find a little bit of clear air. Now this might be enough for him as he accelerates through on his way. Juan Cruz Alvarez and Andres Sarabia both on improved laps, as is Miguel Ramos. So plenty of changes potentially occurring throughout the field as Pierguidi negotiates turn 1. Runs downhill, he's got Bradley Ellis in pursuit. Through turn 2, we'll get a sense of how this is going for Pierguidi momentarily. And it's his personal best first sector of the session, 22.9. As Miguel Ramos goes 7th now, at 1 minute 51.5. So Ramos deposes Andres Sarabia. Sarabia likely to post a much improved time on this occasion. Alessandro Pierguidi, half a second almost up on Miguel Ramos just through the first sector. And that's the gap at the moment from 6th to 7th is 1.2 seconds. We've got the first 6 cars go by 3/4 of a second, then a gap, and then everybody else over 2 seconds drift of the current pace that's been set by Jerome Mull. Pierguidi into turn 7. And this has been a good lap from the Italian, but the track conditions getting very, very difficult. 52.4, and this is potentially going to be a fairly hefty improvement for Alessandro Pierguidi. How much of an improvement we'll find out. Andres Sarabia, meanwhile, has flashed through with a 1 minute 50.7, remains 7th, but is now just 1.1 seconds adrift of Jerome Mull's pole position mark. Although is that going to become Alessandro Pierguidi's pole position mark? The Italian in the Luzic Racing Ferrari accelerating along the start and finish straight. He's about to go across the line now. He does, and he goes 3rd, but Toby Sloss has gone quickest, so Sloss moves into pole position in the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan, the 1 minute 49.4, as we have a look at an adventure for Ferdinand Habsburg. So Sloss's got pole by 92 thousandths of a second from Jerome Mull. Alessandro Pierguidi then is just shy of 0.2 of a second adrift of Sloss's mark. But Jerome Mull is back out and pushing, as is Riccardo Agostini. There is Toby Sloss, the blue and black car. And Sloss was very impressive in free practice on Friday. Didn't get a chance to really see his true competitiveness yesterday because Giuseppe Cipriani had a troubled opening stint to the race after contact with Marcio Basso. And Sarri, fastest first sector of anybody on this lap. So make your own jokes about the British drivers being used to weather like this. As Sarri, an improvement for him as well through sector 2, as long as he doesn't get too caught up here through the third and final sector. This might be another improvement for Toby Sarri. Bradley Ellis also was having a reasonably good lap. Ellis currently in 6th place in the Optima Motorsport Audi. 9 minutes to run as out of the Parabolica, accelerating to complete his 10th lap of the session. Toby Sarri across the line as Alessandro Pierguidi off at turn 4. There are lots of drivers being caught out at turn 4. And Sarri, a massive improvement for Toby Sarri, a 1:48.8 that lap for Sarri. And that puts him 3/4 of a second clear of the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Ferdinand Habsburg posting a big improvement last time around in the Drevex Mercedes, which we follow now. Habsburg going up into 11th place. We've only got 4 cars within a second of each other at the front of the field. It's Toby Sarri and Jerome Mull currently sharing the front row of the grid. Alessandro Pierguidi and Riccardo Agostini on row 2, ahead of Constance Calco and Bradley Ellis in 5th and 6th position. Habsburg down through the gears, up through the chicane. And this lap again might be a little bit better for Ferdinand Habsburg as Toby Sarri moves inside the car of his teammate Miguel Ramos. Sarri going to find another improvement on this lap. Not through the middle sector, but really the gauntlet's been laid down for the rest of them. To find almost 8/10 of a second is going to be a big ask, even for drivers of Jerome Mull and Alessandro Pierguidi's calibre. Ferdinand Habsburg, by the way, completed that lap without an improvement. He faded 2/10 adrift by the time they got to the flag, to the line rather. Sarri blasts on his way. And no improvement there for Toby Sarri. See the water just streaming off the car. The aerodynamic device is doing what they need to, however. Seems like Lazarus team watch from the garage. It's the progress of Miguel Ramos, currently in 10th place. Ramos is going to catch one of the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing cars momentarily, and that is going to be Nicolas Costa. Costa currently in 14th position. Daniele Diamato in the RS Racing Ferrari goes 13th. He posts his personal best of the session. It's 3 seconds off the pace set by Toby Sarri. And Sarri potentially going to be making another improvement here. Juan Cruz Alvarez, shoot of his best lap of this qualifying period, but Toby Sarri is able to go about 4/10 of a second quicker just through the first sector than most of his rivals. Nicolas Costa, another driver potentially going to be making an improvement in this lap. Costa, who was very sprightly in the second half of yesterday's race. Here is Juan Cruz Alvarez then, in the middle sector of the lap. It's 23.0 through the first sector. We've got disallowed time for Daniele Diamato, so that improvement that we just reported that propelled him to 13th, he's going to lose. Having managed to pick up 2 track limits infringements as Juan Cruz Alvarez runs wide, coming through turn 7. Fortunately, doesn't hit anything. Just picks up a little bit of grass, a little grit. 5 minutes to go. Nicolas Costa, that lap we just briefly saw, Vincenzo Sospiri Racing driver, goes 7th with a 1:50.6, 1.8 seconds adrift of Sarri's mark. Juan Alvarez won't be making any improvement on this lap. Question mark whether or not he presses on for another lap, or if he needs to bring the car in to get it checked over. The radiator grille doesn't seem to be too full of brass, so the Argentine driver heads on his way. Here's another look at it. And the car just understeering away from him, under braking. And although these GT3 cars, they've got ABS, some of the adverse camber corners here in Estoril, making life very, very difficult indeed. And that is a huge spin for one of the Luzic Racing Ferraris, and that is Alex West, who was looking to improve on 19th place. So Toby Sloss remains the pole sitter by over 3/4 of a second from Jerome Mull, and Mull hasn't looked likely to post an improvement since he emerged from the pits a few moments ago. His teammate, though, Riccardo Agostini, is potentially on a good lap. Nicolas Costa, unlikely to improve this time around. Brazilian driver coming towards the end of his 11th lap of the session. Martin Conrad, meanwhile, has improved to second in the AM class in the HTP Motorsport MS Racing Mercedes with a 1 minute 50.7. Constance Kauko still leading the way in the AM class. And here is another moment, unfortunately for Alex West. It's turn 7, and clearly that's now proving very, very tricky for the drivers. As the road falls away from them, just a bit late to that optimal braking point. The road does flow away from them. Here is Riccardo Agostini. He's got in and amongst a little bit of traffic this lap. He's right up behind Juan Alvarez. Alvarez still looking to try and set an improvement through the Parabolica. Agostini a little bit adrift of his best through sector 2. He's going to have time for 2 more laps as they accelerate through. So over the line for Alvarez and Agostini. Now for Juan Alvarez, that was an improvement, 1 minute 51.6, and that good enough to put him into 12th place. For Riccardo Agostini, he'll want to move clear of that BMW he possibly can. Now both Bradley Ellis and Nicolas Costa are on personal best laps, and Bradley Ellis in particular well into the 22-second bracket through sector 1, so he could be on the cusp of a fairly chunky improvement. The sky just a little bit brighter than it was a few moments ago, and it's going to have much bearing on the track conditions the remainder of this session. And Agostini can't clear Cruz Alvarez, and he recognises that, backs right out of it, waves Andres Saravia through. And now the challenge for Alvarez is to move clear of Luis Silva, who sees him into turn 7. And Bradley Ellis is through into the final section of the lap, and Ellis, the Optima Motorsport Audi, is of the top drivers in the field, the one who is looking most likely to make an improvement on this occasion. Mario Cordoni's just come through, improved his time, but he remains in 22nd place. As the BMW picks its way through turn 12. Many blue sectors on the time screen at all, including for Bradley. Well, Bradley Ellis does improve his time, remains in 5th, 1 minute 49.9 for Bradley Ellis, within a couple of tenths of a second of Riccardo Agostini. 45 seconds left in the session, and it is pretty much job done for Toby Sloss, who prizes himself from the cockpit, receives congratulations of the mechanics and engineers. And from the rest of the Team Lazarus squad, looks as if they've got enough for pole position. Nobody likely to make the sort of improvement that's going to depose him in the remaining few seconds of the session. And that was a phenomenal string of laps from Toby Sloss late on. Fabrizio Cristani also passes on. So congratulations, Alessandro Pierguidi then, yesterday's race winner. Was it Racing Ferrari? As checkered flag comes out, will have to satisfy himself with 3rd. He just pushed as hard as he could to beyond that, a little trip through the gravel. So the last few cars coming through to complete their final lap of the session, one of whom is Miguel Ramos, and Ramos has posted personal best sectors through the first 2/3 of this lap, so we might yet see Ramos. He's in 11th, he needs to find 4/10 of a second to move into the top 10. Can he do it? Accelerates through now. And no, he can't. 1 minute 51.1. It's his best time of the session, but he only finds 1/10 of a second. So remains just outside the top 10. So a fascinating session to set the grid for this afternoon's race, the 60-minute race, which will get underway at about 1:10 local time here in Estoril, which is British summer time, where Alessandro Pierguidi will start from 3rd. Yesterday's runner-up, Jerome Mull, will start in 2nd position. And of course, both Pierguidi and Jerome Mull will have success seconds to contend with in the pit stops. And it will be Toby Sloss who will start from the overall pole position and the top Pro-Am qualifier as well. Absolutely phenomenal performance from Sloss. 0.755 of a second clear of the rest of the field, masterfully negotiating the traffic and the conditions to set a very, very impressive mark. So here's a look then, classification. Toby Sloss for Daika Lazarus Racing, pole position and Pro-Am pole, clear of Jerome Mull, Alessandro Pierguidi. Riccardo Agostini makes it 2 in Pirelli Racing, Lamborghini's in the top 4 with that 4th place. Bradley Ellis, the 2nd Pro-Am runner, in 5th for Optima Motorsport. Konstantin Skalko takes AM-class pole in the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini Huracan ahead of Nicholas Costa. And then Martin Conrad, the 2nd AM runner in the HTP Motorsport MS car. Miguel Ramos just outside the top 10 in the 2nd of the Daika Lazarus Racing cars, and Juan Crisel Varez and Jian Tonglong Liang. Ferdinand Habsburg, a tricky session for the Austrian as he ends up in 14th place. Alex West also a couple of spins on the way to 19th. Thiago Marquez completing the top 20. Luis Silva and Mario Cordoni completing the grid. So we will be back just after 1 o'clock local time for what promises to be an excellent second race of the season for the International GT Open. Until then, it's goodbye.